Migrating along, was asked to go take a look at the garage roof because I got 2 leaks going into the garage. On first blush, yeah, that's wet, and that's a pool that shouldn't be happening, and that's right where the leak is going down, and there too, and or another can of worms. So again, 14 pounds per square inch is being pressed down on this water, and so it's being forced through and into any cracks or crevices it can get that assume that the barrier was breached and screwing a little bit too deep, something here or there. Then in the middle of the garage is a drainage pipe, and that looks like the drain, right? Should it be that clogged up? I think it's not. Looks like a little nest. So it looks like somebody's thought this was a good idea. Yeah, maybe temporary fix, but I'm gonna stop water from penetrating if it already is. This is just gonna go over the rocks and in. So this is a low spot when the roofers, when they have it professionally done by roofers, because I'm only an amateur here. That should be a special spot. Oh, yeah. This is really professional. All right, I'm gonna take care of this. It shouldn't be like that. It's gone for that long, too long. It's surprising what masters of one discipline know. That's why just being a jack of all trades is ideal, because yeah, it's good to know something about thermodynamics and fluid dynamics, both air, water, and electricity. Because when you know it too flows, has current and capacity to generate energy. How? Not artificially, but naturally. The organic way. And the water infiltration issue here was old sealant. That's all. That happens. You know, everything has its expiration date. So we put some fresh wet patch on, squeezed it in really tight all the way around on both of them. As far as central water issue, it has nothing to do with the CFE. That's got integrity. It's about a foot down, as you can see. The L that shunts it away down there is partially sticking out, so water is coming in on the edge of it and dripping it down. So we gotta fix that. It's gonna be tight. That was coming down from right about there. Doop, doop, doop. Coming down right there. That's the residual after the patch to be expected. In which case, that's no longer a pool, and yet it is designed correctly as far as floors go, because that's definitely taking any water that might be in here in such a case out to the corner, not in the middle. However, the drip issue that was happening here is that, for one thing, that seal has lost its integrity. You can see the water shining, and the drip ready to drop. And that's one. Number two is part of this lip goes inside of that when it should be on the outside. So that little configuration needs to be taken apart and reset, in which case we still want to have this angle downward. We're gonna have to see how we can tie that in. Fortunately, it looks like it goes behind everything. So there is room to play with. Fortunately, I like to play with stuff like this. Problem solved before the rains come and deluge everything and get everything wet, because here's where we're drying stuff out temporarily. Don't want any mold to accumulate. Gonna have to do the same thing on this side. But get the picture. Works in progress. Vroom vroom. Gotta keep it moving. Fish gotta keep swimming, lest they float belly up. And when you see a can of worms burgeoning, like for instance, that being the issue, expect more worms. But the point of seeing it burgeoning beforehand is to get ahead of the curve, but it's too late now. The integrity of that connection, that connection, that connection, they're all gone. This is water. There's water coming down. It's fresh. And had to clear this area out. Wouldn't you know it, there's a nice doorway. So yeah, can of worms. Gotta deal with that. Let's see what it looks like outside. So come around the back. And yeah, there's where the water is supposed to come out. And well, that's nice. There's actually a grate there to keep mice and vermin and whatnot from coming in, but not spiders and little critters. That should be sealed. There's no reason for that to give airflow into the garage. That should be completely sealed. And then what do we have here? We have some tape, because whatever happened here, that was the fix for that. Certainly an expert job, right? Very expertly done. This water is flowing. So there is water flowing in this, and it's just collecting. It's coming back and penetrating into the wall. Yeah, somebody really knew what they were doing. And then they put a flex hose under the ground, which crosses over here, right in the middle of where you walk. And what happens if you walk on a flexi hose too much? Well, this, of course, it gets crushed and then filled with silt, and it can't go away anymore. And by the way, is that the way to end it, terminate it? Just like right here. Look at how filled that is. That is packed with dirt. So any water that comes down from that whole entire roof to this one outlet is coming out right there and backed up all the way there. Here's another issue that cropped up during the rains. Shouldn't have happened. Not these people's faults. All that comes from upstream somewhere. Issues that people don't realize can be fixed very economically without big issues. But that needs to be hard lined in, trenched, and redone. A lot happening here. And the only way to know the full extent of what you're dealing with in such a situation is to completely dismantle. Water's coming down like it's supposed to. We're keeping it caught. The down and out spout been removed, and have determined that to be very old, very, very old. See, back in those days, they thought silicone was a good way to keep water at bay, but it actually doesn't do jack shit, but make things worse. It's not a good thing anyway. I don't know. I haven't found any good uses for silicone. It's abusive. So we're going to replace all these parts. It was never glued together. It was just taped. But that was old timers' days. This is how much rocky silt was accumulated in this long section along the top there. And it was bowing. As you can see, it's bowed. And yeah, that was actually the high point where it was collecting. Coming around to the outside, that's fine. However, this is where it also went wrong, because when you've got water going in, you don't want to have the lips going out, because water's coming through here, going this way, and if it goes over, it's just going to spew out. No matter what seal you use to seal these, it's going to start to impact the integrity of whatever it is there. And what was used here was, again, duct tape. This termination needs to be flipped. It needs to be a different kind of connection and actually hardwired in completely. But for time being, we're going to just make sure that they don't get any more damage inside their precious garage. And after getting the proper replacements, prep them. And well, there you go. The hole out is sealed from within. So we'll work our way up. Got a wide angle return there. Very much more conducive. That area solved. Now the metal spout goes deep into the elbow. All of that is fused together. And at a very nice angle for the single drainage system that takes the water off the roof and brings it out here. And instead of ugly looking wire mesh around that, that's been sealed properly and is good to go. Once that dries, we're going to connect this, which has also been sealed and placed inward. All right, because water's going this way, male to female, whereas it was turned around before. And then put to that similar point. How do you like that? Nice to work in such a beautiful place and do beautiful things to save people's properties and home. Okay, so we've gotten to almost to the bottom of this can of worms that we opened up. From the leak going into the garage to where it's supposed to come out. So I unearthed this. So far so good. For starters, it crosses right over the threshold of where you walk in and out in this case. And where do you think this goes? It goes under this huge long fence of ivy. I thought perhaps that this crossed over at some point. And what do you know? Look what I found. Another flexi hose. There's no doubt that is filled with silt, because if you look at the rest of it, follow along, and there's that break that was protruding. Yeah, that was brilliant. Whoever laid this in, let's just lay it right over a big old root from the tree that used to be here. Clearly, they knew what they were doing. But yeah, probably failed like within the first year, right there. Again, you got water supposed to come downhill, but then it's got to go up over a hump like that. And well, what's going to happen is you're going to accumulate silt in there until it clogs up, backs up, and so that line, I'm sure, is just useless. Clearly it is. And then it kind of goes down, makes a little turn there. Beautiful, right? Yeah, they knew what they were doing. And sticks right out here. And it's supposed to go where? Yeah, just wash the dirt onto the sidewalk. And so what's going on in here? And yeah, that's packed. That's packed with dirt. That's useless. What I recommend in this situation scenario is hardline that in. Continue this so you don't have this jacked situation. It's jerry-rigged, right? Like, there's too many couplings for this, not necessary. Go straight down into the ground, and then, yeah, bring it somewhere between these two areas, and then make it terminate out here somewhere, because it's not a lot of water that's coming off of the garage roof in this area. It's got all the ivy roots and whatnot to slow down the water further. It'll spread out and lower the impact of its erosion and actually not be an issue anymore. Yeah. This is the bottom of the can of worms that we opened up, me, myself, and I. Tools of the trade. And the can of worms problem solved. Turns out that second line coming here, going up over the root, is actually the drain from the driveway. In which wonderful case, tied the two lines in right there. There's a Y, and they connect to the exit route to get the water away. And this has been treated nicely with some path fines temporarily until they decide to have this set with pavers, or at least for the winter. They won't be tracking mud in and out of the house. let's go up to the top and see how that's wrapped up. And the finishing touch to a long endeavor. Ta-da! There you go. So, who around here needs any kind of water issues dealt with? Well, if you see me, flag me down, because I might know who to call.